Shame that tune!
And let's bring up our third and final contestant. Here he comes, Kenny Witzgall! Give that wheel a spin. Give that wheel a spin. Audience, last chance. Yell it out, can't hear you. What do you want to hear? Sorry for fans of timeshare, but Glory Days, here we go. Okay, Kenny, you got 3 minutes to shame that tune. On your mark, get set, shame.
All right, well, guys, thank you so much for having me out here. I gotta be honest, though, like compared to some of the stories that I've heard, mine does seem a little tame. I'll be honest, you know, I've got stories where I shit myself. You know, I've got the vomit stories, I've got drug stories and shit. But I want to get back to a place where I'm gonna go back to a time where I was a 16-year-old kid who was very religious and very Catholic, and I did something that I had never really felt shame, I think, until this point. You know, this was back before I drank and before I smoked and before I knew that I hated myself and all those sorts of nice things that come with adulthood. So the impact was felt a little bit more than I necessarily wanted to. But like I said, I used to be, when I was 16, I used to be a very Catholic kid. You know, I wasn't like a creepy Catholic or anything like that. But you know, I mostly went to youth group for the girls, I think, in retrospect. But you know, there was a lot of like these sort of self affirmations, you know, where we could go around and talk about how God affected us that week or whatever. It's kind of like a prelude to Alcoholics Anonymous. Eventually, I know it's gonna happen. So it'd be nice. But at the time, you know, I was like, you know, I had you know, what they call Catholic guilt, you know. But the incident happened when we were going to this big youth conference in Lansing, Michigan. I'm from Michigan, and there was this big youth conference from youth groups from all over the state. We were riding a school bus. I happened to be in the back of the school bus, and at one point, about halfway through the trip, I noticed that my youth minister, Ron, was driving just behind the school bus. And for whatever reason, I was a 16-year-old, you know, and so I had all that you know, spontaneity of youth, you know, and I'd heard similar stories about older brothers or friends of mine doing something like this. So for whatever reason, the first thought that came to my head when I noticed that my youth minister was driving behind me was to moon him. I did it. It was right there, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna moon Ron right now. So I mooned him, and I put my pants back on, and then somebody that was sitting next to me said, he's waving the camera. He wants to take a picture of it. And I thought, yeah, this makes sense. He can do that, yeah. So I pulled my pants off, and I mooned him again, you know, and then I sat back down. I didn't think anything of it. People were starting to kind of notice the commotion at the back of the bus, and then the same friend from earlier was like, "Oh yeah, he's waving the camera. He's waving the camera even more. He didn't get the shot." So for a third time in a row, I pulled my pants off and I showed my ass to my youth minister. I did that with you know, the words St. John's Catholic School, you know, emblazoned on the back for all of mid-Michigan to see. And we, you know, eventually that was it. I moved my youth minister 3 times in a row, and we eventually got to the convention in Lansing, and I was the last person to get off the bus because I was in the back, and he just pulled me aside and he said, yeah, I'm not happy with that at all. And I just really, it was like, that's when it sunk in, like, oh, I'm going to hell. I'm going to hell. That's what it is. I got nothing more. So I spent we were there for probably 4 or 5 hours. I spent every single one of those hours going up to each of the adults that had been on the bus and just saying, I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry. I'm sorry. And they all gave me the same. One guy was like, my only problem was that it was in mixed company. I didn't appreciate it that there were girls on the bus. And I was like, oh, I I'm sending the girls to hell too, just because they saw my ass. Like I felt, which I still believe if you do, but you know that's a different way. And it was just, I had never really felt shame like that. That was the first time since I had started masturbating that I was like, I'm gonna go to hell. And that's what's gonna happen. And by the end of the evening, I was getting back on the bus, and my youth minister Ron was like, yeah, that was your punishment. That was it. And I was like, oh my God, I know what it is to be a Catholic now. All right, so that's basically what it is. So thank you guys very much.